Everybody, House Doctor Jr. or John here, and I'm going to start a series of videos about the projects that I'm doing, whether they're for myself or for somebody else. The one I'm working on today is for myself, for a house that I have in Florida, and it is going to be working on a boardwalk. So I'm going to flip the camera around here and show you. So this here is a boardwalk that I had put in previously. We have a gate and a fence, and put some plants along the boardwalk. But today I'm going to be talking about the boardwalk portion of this whole thing. And in Florida, you have to make sure that the wind isn't going to blow it around. So you have to put posts in the ground with concrete and attach a frame to the posts in the ground so the wind won't pick it up, because you get some pretty strong winds around here, hurricanes. Anyway, I will show you the frame that I am working on the other side of the house. And here it is. This one here I didn't do as wide as the other side. I'm going to do it just a little bit more narrow. There goes my dog. And so these boards here are 24 inches wide. As you can see, it's pretty comfortable, but comes right up to my gate. I have these all secured down. And this is how I decided to attach the boards to the ground. That 4x4 post is sunk in the ground 18 inches. And then I used some 3¼ inch long screws and attached everything. Made it all nice and solid. And then back out this way, same thing all the way out to here. So we can see who's doing that. Oh. All right, so I have as you saw in that little trip, I have some boards already pre-cut, and this is how I set up my saw station. I got my wood delivered on a stack, and I had these round fence posts to set everything on. I have this cinder block to stop everything. My saw blade is 2 feet from the cinder block. And then this is my fence. I just used a couple screws to hold everything in place. And then I will stop everything here for a second and pick up the video after I get one of my boards set in place. Okay, I decided to just go ahead and show you how I get everything in place here and make my cuts. Get my board set up against my fence. Now, they're not all straight. There's like a little bit of a bow here, but on this part of it, it's not really that critical. I like to get all these tags off. I don't like to see all that stuff when I'm done with my project. And I'll turn this board over when I screw it down so you don't see the writing. There, I'm all up against there. Just to double check, the left side of my blade's right on the 24-inch mark. So I'm right at 24 inches, and this is a 16-inch or a 16-foot long board, so I can get 8 of them out of it. And they give a little bit of leeway, so they're 16 feet, 1 inch, give or take. I've had as much as an inch, and then as little as, I don't know, 1/4 inch, a little more extra. So I'll go ahead and make a cut so you can see how I'm doing that. make my cut, and then I slide it down, bump it up against my board, make sure I'm straight against my fence. And I'm going to shut the camera off and cut another 2 more boards, so I have another just under 16 feet of length to go. The boards are 5/4 by 6, but actually a little less than 6 inches, so I don't quite get 16 feet. I get 15 feet some out of it. But anyway, well, let me get to work cutting, and then I'll get back to the process after I get done with that. All right, so when I reviewed the video that I'd taken showing the saw cutting, I realized that I had talked about getting the cut at 24 inches, and I kind of pointed to it, but the camera was at kind of a distance, so I thought, like, if I was watching it and didn't know, that I'd want somebody to point that out and be a little bit more specific. So I'm going to do that here real quick. I got the camera turned around, and this is my saw setup that I had shown you before. So I'll do like I did before and bring my board in against my fence, and then I'm going to make a little mark in the wood so I can show you what I'm talking about. So one thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is that the blade actually has a thickness, and if you don't take into consideration that, especially when you're doing fine woodworking, then you could run into trouble with something being at a specific length. So as you can see, the thickness of that blade is about 1/8 of an inch. Just a hair less than that, but I mean most blades are about that unless you got a really thick blade on something else. So when I take my tape measure, run it from my stop that I have over there, and I come back in to my mark, you can see that the left side of that line is right on 24 inches, which is exactly what you want to make sure that your cuts are the same. All your boards are going to be the same. So then I'll show you this here real quick too. I take these boards and I'm going to flush it up flat on that side, and we come over here and I flush it up on the right side, and then I came back to the left side, and you can see that it's off by just a tick. Pretty close though. It's not always going to be exactly 24. And of course, it's a pretty rough setup. Just using these bricks that I had. My saw is sitting in the sand, and it's moving around a little bit as I'm moving the saw blade to cut it. My fence is pretty stable because that 4x4 is treated wood and it's real heavy, plus the screws are sitting there. If I was doing something that's more of a fine woodworking project, then I would have a better setup than that. I have back home in Colorado, I have a saw that's set up on a stand, and it has stops. I can set stops at different locations. But anyway, I just wanted to point that part out since I thought somebody might have a question about it. The other thing is, as I said, these boards may not necessarily be straight. We can see that I'm touching the fence right here on the end. I'm touching my fence right here on the end. And then right here, you can see that there's a gap in between the fence and the board. The 5/4 by 16 foot is a little bit bowed. And then that's the other thing is I'm just talking terms. It says 5/4. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's let's see if I can get this set up right so you can see it. Get a little closer. So on your tape measure, I'm going to start at the 2 so you can see it. It has 16 little lines or 15 little lines in between the 2 and the 3 mark, and each one of those is a 1/16 of an inch. And then 4 of those is going to be a 1/4 inch. So let me stop. They don't do things like that. Ah, damn it. No, I guess it's still running. We're still running. I'm going to have to edit that out. So the point of that all was I just wanted you to know when I said 5/4 what that meant. So it's not a 3/4 inch board, and that would be just a little bit less than 3/4 of an inch too. But it's a 5/4 board, and it should be actually 5/4. Now, if you go to buy hardwood and those kinds of things, I've noticed that when you buy the board, it's actually 5/4, so 1.25 inches. But this construction wood, this is actually deck board that I'm using, and it needs to be a little bit thicker than 3/4 of an inch, or else it's not going to hold up. It's going to bow a little more. This has a little bit more strength and sturdiness to it. So anyway, there you go, 5/4 boards. All right, folks. John, House Doctor Jr., or whatever. I got to figure that out one of these days. Anyway, so I'm going to get to work on putting some of these boards down, and I wanted to show you how I gap everything correct and make everything straight. So first things first, what I did was I put a string line where I wanted the edge of the board to be, right here. Got a little screw run through there. I got this little thing to lift it up off of the top of the wood a little bit because it's kind of slacks down a little and gets in my way. And then I also use this board to get it up off of the decking just a little bit. But as you can see, I'm right along the string line. And one of the things that I noticed when I was doing this to start with is that this longer board that I have in right here is not parallel with the other boards I'm putting in. It's not perpendicular to the house. That was my fault when I put it in, but anyway, to correct that, I have a little bit tighter gap on this side than I have on this side for a few boards until I get to a point where I found that the little boards were square to the framing that I have. Anyway, I got that going, and then every now and then I'll check just to make sure that it's still square. So what I am using is a star point, and I'm using a stainless steel screw. It's got a little 6-star point on it, and these are a stainless steel. It's a self-drilling screw, and I'm not sure if you can see that there's a little piece right here. It's hard to get it to focus, but it kind of drills its way in, makes room for the shaft of the screw, and then It's like a self-drilling. So I don't have to pre-drill these. It doesn't split the wood, doesn't ruin it, which is pretty nice. It's not that hard of a wood, so don't have to worry about that as much. And when I go to put these in, grab one off of my stack here. What I've decided to do is wood's gonna dry some, and it's gonna have a gap, so I decided to just go ahead and pre-gap it. So what I've decided to do is to use my square for the gap, and then I want to say I think that it is 1/8 of an inch, but let's take a look. Yeah, it's 3/16 of an inch. But anyway, I like the gap. It turns out good, and then when it dries, it widens a little bit more. It's not that big a deal. So I just set my square in there, and then look and try to make sure that the gap on both sides of the board is the same. And then, let's see, I moved my string over here, so let me set that back up. So yeah, nice and straight again. And then let's see if I can set this up so you can see what I'm doing. What I like to do is I get it in place. I can also feel with my finger if it's flush, but I'm trying to stay in line with the string line because sometimes it's easy to get off of your mark. Once I get it in place, then I step on it. It does two things: holds the board in place, and then when you're driving this screw in, every now and then I found that if it doesn't go into the framing board right away and it's trying to drill, especially if it's a little bit harder or a little bit more wet, it'll lift this board up. So I'll put my foot on it to hold it down. I could make a pencil mark or do a tape measure, but your eye's pretty good. So I'm trying to keep these all gapped about the same distance from the edge. I'm going to have to get another battery. Let's see if I can get one more in before it goes. Yeah, that was it. So that's how I'm doing that. I put 2 screws in each board, hold it in place, and then I'll do the same thing with the next board. This one has some kind of a mark on the edge. Plus it kind of bows a little bit with the grain of the wood. So I'm going to put this side down so it doesn't, actually it's cupped. I don't want it cupping upwards. I'd rather have it cupping up in the middle instead of on the edges. So again, use my little square for the gap. Come over to this side. Right on the string line. Check the gap here and here. Make sure it's pretty the same. I mean, the other thing I could do is I don't have 2 of these squares with me right now, but if I did, I could put both of them in. The last time that, I'm going to have to go get a drill for my battery, but the last time I had to do a consistent gap, I was working on a deck, and I use those nails, cap nails that you use for roofing. They have a plastic cap, and I want to say the nail thickness is about 1/16 of an inch, maybe just a little bit thicker. So I had a handful of those, and I'd just drop them in, drop words. So I'd put one here, and then put one here, and then push it all in tight. When I did that deck, that'll be another project that I put up one of these days for you guys to see. I didn't get any video, but I have a bunch of pictures. But we used one of those cap nails, plastic cap nails on every joist just to make sure that the joist, it was gapped at the joist where it was going to be holding itself in place. Anyway, I'm going to go get a new drill battery and then screw these all down, and then I'll come back and show you a little bit more of that when I get to that point. Okay, everybody, John here again. I got a little bit more of the boardwalk done, so let's come out here and show you what I did. Got it all the way down to the corner. Yeah, with the exception of my last board here, because I still have to figure out how I'm going to do the corner. I want to curve the corners a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 24-inch boards and come all the way down this frame until I get close enough, and then I will figure out how to frame it up. I guess my thought is that I will come across here with a 45 and then maybe come from the like here with the 22 and then over here with the 22 to the 45, and then out here I'm gonna have to figure this out. So I haven't done anything like that before. I had well, I guess to explain, these 2x4s that I use for the framing are 16 feet long, and these ones came all the way down here, and the way I had my 4x4 posts set in the ground, they're 8 feet on center, so that's why I ended up right here with this one. And then over here, actually, that you can see that first set goes to the middle post where that's the double cross member, and then that's 16 feet. And then this one runs over here. I had taken a 16-footer and cut it not exactly in half, but a little less than half. So I'll have to figure this corner out. The other thing too is this boardwalk here is pretty level from the far end down there where the bucket is to here, and then this row here actually rises up from at that post in the ground. You can still see up to the gate. So this down here, I guess it kind of comes into each other, not on the same plane. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. A couple other things that I hadn't talked about was this cross brace that I have here. This 2x4 is 15 inches wide, so may not be exactly 16-inch on center on the rails, but close enough. And with the 5/4 boards, that would give enough, close enough so that when you're walking on the boards that they're not going to flex in the middle. And one of the things I wished I had done on my other one is put them 16 on center, but I didn't. I went wider on this one, and I guess at the time I thought, well, since I'm using 5/4 boards, that it wouldn't be a very big deal. And well, for the most part, it's not too bad. But here's one of the problems I found. This board here is kind of tipped up. If I get on the side here, maybe you can see it. It's raised up from the others. Right there. Anyway, and it bows down in the middle right there just a little bit. And I have another one that kind of did the same thing, but this board had kind of a problem to start with. It was split and I didn't realize it. So, but that's all right. I will replace these one of these days, those two. Probably after I get done with the other boardwalk. The other thing I wanted to show you was this little space here is a rinse station for when you come back from the beach, so you can just shower off. The cool thing about that is when you turn it on, it's just one valve, but it's got a mixing valve inside, so it takes a couple minutes, but then it warms up. And so I mean, that's not a big deal, but if it's cooler out like it is now, we're 7th of November, remembering Pearl Harbor today, but gets a little bit cooler, so it's nice to have a little bit of warm water to rinse off with in the summer. You're glad for the cooler water. Okay, I think that's all I got for the moment, and I'm going to make another little blip and talk about the tools that I'm using on this project. So I'll see you on the other one. Okay, back onto the Boardwalk project. One thing I wanted to show you is that you have to check the boards that you're using, especially if it's critical that you're wanting a nice straight line and even edge. A lot of the boards are pretty good that I'm using. Most of them, actually, I've been pretty happy, but every now and then you'll get one that isn't square on the edge when they do the cutting process or the production process, the milling process. I'm not sure how, but some of them get skewed a little bit of an angle. So, and I just wanted to show that on one of the boards that I have here. So as you can see, this one is off just by a little bit. Yeah, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Not really bad at all. Definitely usable, but I've had a couple of them that were off by 1/4 inch. So that's one thing you want to check. I just cut another board and I had to square the end with my saw before I started, because that one was off closer to 3/8 or almost 1/4 of an inch. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. You've got to square your boards a lot of times. Okay, back on the Boardwalk project. I got a lot of it done, and I got to the corner. Wasn't sure how I was going to do the framing, but I got it figured out. I was going to try to make it curve, and I don't know, I still might, but I got some brackets in there, braces in there, so I could do it either at a 45-degree angle or do it on a curve. I just gotta, I don't know. So let's see, let me flip this. There's the front side of the boardwalk. I had done the back side before. There's the back side all the way, I should say the side of the house. Anyway, so this is how I elected to do the framing. I hadn't brought the rails out very far this way, or on that one right there would have been better if it was over to here, and I could still run something in there, but these two boards are close enough that, let's see, they're 16 on center and even a little bit more support. So my thought was to do a 24-inch board, but I might go a little bit lighter or wider. I had decided to, let me get back this way. I put this little brace in so I could cut my pieces, they'll run this way, and I'll cut them on a miter, and they can sit there, and they can also sit on here. So not sure if I'm explaining that very well, but if I grab this board, and I have it run at a 45 there. That one's not long enough. It's at least an inch shy, but I might do a little wider there. Then I can just cut these on a 45 here, and they'll just dive into the board like that. So that was my idea right there. So I think the easiest way to do this would be to find the center of this board and that board, and then run one there. Maybe run them a little bit long, and then maybe I could do from here and kind of do a little curve. I'll probably do it straight across because I have this board here. And then out here, then maybe I could, you know, they'll come out here. Maybe I could make a little bit of a curve as I come around to this other side. So we'll see how that goes. I will probably wait till tomorrow to mess with that because it's getting long in the day. I've been at it all day. I had to go to the store a couple times, get some paint for the girlfriend, and did a lot of cutting to get all these boards on the boardwalk, but I think that turned out pretty good. As far as the bracing, this one here, I just put a 2x4 underneath and ran some longer screws in, and then on the end I notched out on this board so that has a place to sit, and I did the same thing on this one here. That's a little better. I notched out here. I had to put in a little spacer because this runs upward from here to here, and these two are in the same plane, so I should have come up halfway on my little mark, but that's all right. I spaced it, and it's laying parallel. The long one and the short one are parallel with each other, and that'll work out just fine. So I will get this figured out tomorrow, and then the next thing I'm going to do tomorrow is to build my gate. I had put this little gate in, and it's too short. The little dog's fine, but the big dog just steps over it. I should have thought about that when I did it, but anyway, I'm just going to take this gate off, use these boards, and I'm going to put a taller gate between here and here, just so the animals can't crawl under. As you can see, there's a space from the ground up to the boardwalk. Then I will run a board across, probably a 2x4, something like that, so that animals can't get under it on both sides. And then we'll have this handy little storage area for I don't know what. But anyway, one of the next things I'll show you is the deck that I built in the back, but we'll get to that on another day. Anyway, thanks for watching.